Women covering their hair. Is it biblical, Torah law, or is it Talmudic, rabbinical law? Many people are actually surprised it's neither. It's actually a custom. Really? 1 second. Let's go through the sources. So, what does it say by Sota? They brought her to the priest, and the Kohen would stand her in the courtyard of the Mikdash. They brought her before Hashem, and they exposed her hair. 1 second. Does it say exposed? No. It says farah. And they untangled or unbound her hair because the women's hair were in braids. The custom was not to uncover the hair. The custom was to unbraid the hair, as we see the word farah elsewhere. So therefore, we don't find any source whatsoever in the Torah, Tanakh, that talks about women would cover their hair. 1 second. But I know there's a Gemara and there's a Mishnah in Kesubas, isn't there? A woman is liable to be divorced or lose her Kesuba payments if she uncovers her hair, right? Let's check it out. The Mishnah in Kesuba says, for these things, a woman will lose her Kesuba contract if she violates the law of Moshe, in other words, a law that's in the Torah, and she violates the law of the Yehudis, the Jewish customs and practices. So therefore, if it's a Jewish practice, it's a custom, but it's not biblical law. Okay, but if it's a custom in the Talmud, then at the very least it's adjacent to rabbinical law, right? Well, let's see. What is an example of the customs of the Jews? She goes out with her hair uncovered. No. She goes out with her hair parua, unbraided, let loose. 1 second. I know that there's a Gemara that talks about how Onan was saved from the Korach rebellion because his wife sat outside his tent and did not let anyone see him because she uncovered her hair, right? Doesn't it say that? Let's look. The Gemara is basing it that first says that Dasan of Aviram were joined by On, and then later on it says Dasan of Aviram, what happened to On? So here it's talking about how On's wife saved him. Must be his wife made him drunk and put him inside his tent. Then she sat outside the tent, and what did she do? She exposed her hair, right? That's not what it says. It says Ustart Lamazia. What is Starte Lamazia? So that actually means undoes or demolishes what is normal. What? Ustart is actually found in another Gemara. When Herod is talking about destroying, he uses that word Astarte, which means to destroy. Lamazia is actually used in Daniel. Daniel, we know, is written both in Hebrew, and there are parts that are in Aramaic. That he made the furnace 10 times hotter than Lamazia, than what is normal. So what did the woman do? She destroyed, in other words, she undid her hair in that was normally in braids. Now, don't take my word for it. So what does Rashi say? It's regarding to hair. How is that? She sat in the door of the tent, and anyone who came by to call on him, she showed her unbraided hair. She used the word again, Pirea. But I know that there's a Gemara that talks about someone who merited 7 children to be Kohen Gadol because she never exposed her hair. Kimchis, right? The Rabbanan inquired of Kimchis because she had 7 children who were the high priest. They asked her, what did you do to merit this? She said, the beams of my house never saw the braids of my hair. This means 2 things. Number 1 is she was super strict, and the beams of her house either never saw the braids of her hair undone, or if it means the braids of her hair, it means she always covered her hair, which was extra modest, which in other words, it's a good thing, but not a required thing. But what was the actual custom? They never saw the braids of her hair, meaning she knew that the law was she had to have braided hair, because that is what the law is. She went beyond that, and the beams never even saw her hair. The Zohar taps onto this and comes down very strongly and makes it a law in no uncertain terms. Besides the Zohar, it's a nice thing to do, and I'm not telling anyone to go against their custom of covering their hair, but we had discussion based on Torah and rabbinical law. Any questions, let me know.